studio, so she'll.
I don't want. This is my studio. That's my studio. Main studio. Feel free to look around during the intermission, ask questions. I was realizing as we were doing this today that when we first started doing it, I complained. Whose fan is that? Ours? I complained every time that I had to clean up. But I'm finally starting to really enjoy playing with the space during these events. So it's taken me just about 18 months to really, kind of get a kick out of people coming to my studio and fixing it up. So we're glad you're all here. Are there any seats left at all? I don't think so. I think that might be all here. Okay, we'll turn one here.
Well, if a flood of people come, we'll ask everybody under 25 to stand.
Okay, let's do a couple of things. There's a bathroom in the back, a little bathroom. I mean, it's really, it's basically a two-person studio. We'll have one 10-minute intermission. Then we'll have another little break where we turn our chairs around. Before Margaret Paris, at the end of the program, because everybody gets to turn their chairs facing the slide screen for the end of the program. It's probably about an hour and a half total, after which time we will have wine and snacks reception. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, we'll turn the heat off and then turn it on when everybody gets cold. But it's quieter with the heat off.
Any can do it. So you won't know where it is. I have to find it.
Behind the black wall.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay, you talk.
Okay, so I guess we're ready to start. About the program. I had something philosophical to say about audiences, but I'm so overwhelmed that I have nothing to say about audiences except it's wonderful to see you all. I mean, obviously the audience is what makes this work, and it's more than the bodies here. It's the need that people feel for this 21st century ritual. So we're going to start with these Martinu songs for soprano Reinisch, alto Marjorie Bunday, violin Roelofs, and piano, that's me, I'm Carl Banner. And these songs, there are 5 of them, I think, and it's about a 12-minute piece, after which we will clear the deck here for performance artist and poet Quique Aviles, and he will do about a 12-minute piece of Chaos Standing, which was his long-running performance at DCAC, and then he'll do another 20 or 25 minutes of poetry. So, welcome. Let's go. After which there will be an intermission. And we'll get on to the other stuff.
Thank you.
We saw Quique some years ago, Quique Aviles, and knocked our socks off. And we thought, wow, it would be incredible if we could get somebody like Quique in here. But we assumed that he was too big for us to get. But as we've learned, even famous folks don't work every night, so we agreed to do it. Although it took us a few months before we could find the time. Anyway, I think I told you he's going to do a piece from Chaos Standing, and then 25 minutes of his poetry. And I think we all set over? Okay.
Síguenos corazones, enamorados de mami. Vamos, voy para allá, dile que sí, mi amor. Negrito chulo, mamá.
Post. I'm writing an article about Washington, D.C.'s multicultural neighborhoods and the people who live there. I understand you came here when you were 15. So tell me, what was that like, coming to this neighborhood from another country? What was your most shocking experience?
Blacks. That was a trip. At that age, 15. I'd only seen a couple of black athletes at the airport one day when we had gone to say goodbye or greet somebody. I don't remember. Two tall, dark guys that looked like they were from Aruba or something. And that was it. Now here I was, living among blacks. And there's all kinds of things going on in my head. Like, who are these people? Why are they here? Why are the white people I saw on television? I remember my first weekend. My mother lived in a house at 14th and Urban, Columbia Heights, the black section of El Barrio. It was summertime, so there's all these little black kids playing out on the sidewalk. This was my first time seeing black children. And the mothers would come out and yell at them, "Don't play rough! Keep your hand on baby brother!" This is my first time seeing a black woman. It was strange. My first shock. My first encounter with the fruits of slavery and the word nigger. Then, the second shock was us. I thought my mom and my aunt were the only Latinos in the whole city. Shit, was I in for a surprise. My second weekend here, I remember my mother talking about this thing or this place that sounded like La Mamplesa. But on my second weekend here, on Sunday, my mom is bitching at me and my sister. Go do the laundry. So we put all the dirty clothes in a cart. We walked about 5 blocks to the laundromat. And on that day, I found out what La Mount Pleasant was. It turned out to be Mount Pleasant Street. La Mount Pleasant. Una calle. A street. A little street. A short street. A nightmare. And a dream.
Do you know people in these neighborhoods?
Yes. I know the baby child, drooling, crying, still not knowing the colors of race. The woman of the sunken eyes adorning the ghetto landscape at 5 in the morning. The drunken dream of many, that tender nightly hissing sound of many languages. Yes, getting by, getting by. Yes, I know the sexy, proud, and chunky mother, pushing life on a stroller, walking tall, thinking good. The twin stick-up boys, hazel eyes, matching guns. The pot dealer on a wheelchair, no legs, one arm. Yes, getting by, getting by. Yes. I know the lawyer of the lily white wingtips. Fresh flowers in one hand, wine and luscious thoughts in the other. The poetic drug boys with the Remy Martin bottle, the fronting, the tears. The old lady that feeds the pigeons daily, talking with them, singing. Yes, getting by, getting by. Yes, I know the happy mistress, doing her hair, shopping for steak, engulfing perfume. The pathetic retired magician, faking old tricks, dying of sadness, hiding behind sequins and glitter. Yes, getting by, getting by. Yes, I know the reluctant Anglo smile, shedding its skin and guilt, feeling Western and professional. The Afro strut in anger, eating greens, walking jazz, shooting crab, dying fast. Yes, getting by, getting by. Yes, I know the howl, the rotten dirty laughter, the playful titty, the cunning whisper, the belching bitches, the wet lips of kissing. Yes, I know them all. I know them well. Getting by, getting by.
On a few occasions, you've talked about how painful it is to live here. Can you tell us about that pain?
For the past 5 months, Sonia's been sitting at the front porch, sad and bitter. Everyone's been asking her when she's gonna stop wearing black. Don't know, she says. It ain't easy swallowing tears of sadness all the time, being unhappy, pissed off, a widow, a mother, and 15. Caballo's been pondering the meaning of death. It's only June and he's already been to 8 wakes. He got depressed, careless, fucked up. Started snorting and drinking every day, got caught with an A-ball and a gun. Last week, he got an idea at the funeral home. It was Meme's wake. He realized that putting people in a coffin and having a place where people could come see dead bodies was a business. A good business. Then it hit him. Yeah, save some more money, get out of the street, stop hustling, go legit, open up a funeral parlor, become a businessman. Death is a given, especially these days. Everyone pays to have their dead go away looking their best. Yeah, save some more money, get out of the street, stop hustling, go legit, invest in doing good things for the dead. Manrique and Lola are working together now. It took Lola a while to get the hang of things, to get pushy, arrogant, and quick like every crack dealer should be. Pendeja! Manrique would scream in her face whenever she handed out pieces that were too big for $10. La Flaca finally stopped shooting up. She owes her improvement to crack. Now she no longer plays with needles and spoons. Her new toys and weapons are straight shooters and pipes made out of aluminum cans. The prevention counselor has given up on counseling. He's decided that the drug dealers ain't got what it takes to be good, decent, a good example. Y por eso, every 2 weeks, he lets the cops use his fourth floor window so they can take pictures of their criminal life. He gladly points out their names, their ages and nationalities, and waits a few weeks for the dramatic arrests. Bullwinkle and Alguita are at it again. By looking at them, doing time ain't no cure, therapy, or solution. Last night, they took a Nissan from their rich folks' neighborhood. They've been cruising up and down the street all day, drinking beers and smoking blunts. For $500, they'll sell you the laptop in the trunk. Gustav is only 12, but he's already lived in more than 10 places. There he sits, crying on the sidewalk in front of this second eviction of his life. His mother doesn't cry. She cusses and screams and breaks plates, cups, and glasses on the sidewalk as 2 Vietnamese ladies rummage through what's left of her belongings. There, she says, psh, there, take the shit, she says. As Gustav's tears become sadder, heavier, more painful. At his age, he's already a master in suffering. I hate this place, Mom. Why can't we go back to Trinidad and be like we were before? It's 5 in the morning, and Sylvia wants to die. At the corner of 16th and Park Road, she clutches her 2-year-old daughter and raises her arm to hail a cab. She has no money. Her baby's filthy. The father of the baby just kicked her in the stomach, called her a whore, a bitch, Una puta, a stupid abs. Fuck it! I hate that motherfucker! I want to die! It's winter, and her wailing is the opening sad song for this chilly morning. Quiere pisar. Cindy doesn't know Spanish. Quiere pisar. Wanna fuck, she says to her potential monolingual customers. 10 pisara, 20 mamara. She knows how to say 10 and 20. That's how much she'll charge you for a fuck or a blowjob. All day and all night, she pleases lonely Salvadorian peasants with gold teeth that can't speak her language. And all day and all night, she pleases and numbs herself, smoking rock. No tengo mariposa. I ain't got no butterfly to call a pet, a partner, a friend. I ain't got no tender mother, no milk and honey, no lullaby. I ain't got no pink pajamas, no funky leather shoes. I ain't got no butterfly to torture or to slap. I ain't got no record player, no songs to call my own. I ain't got no intellectual wine and dining, no scholarly debate. I ain't got no butterfly to make a statement to the press. I ain't got no strong defense, no sex excuse, no explanation, no alibi. I ain't got no butterfly to speaking my defense to the jury and the judge. I ain't got no dog that catches frisbees, no magnolias, roses, daffodils. I ain't got no butterfly to explain the pain and sorrow of my days. I ain't got no loving skills, no tools, provisions, ammunition to shoot back. I ain't got no butterfly to give me water to hold my hand. I ain't got no squirrels at my window, no bilingual cucarachas preaching at my door. I ain't got no butterfly to bring no color and no beauty to my days. I ain't got no soothing poems, no literary fragments that sing of love. No te miento, I ain't lying. No tengo mariposa, I ain't got no butterfly. Thank you. First of all, let me apologize to the young ones. I didn't realize there was going to be kids here, and what's there is there, but it's not for gratuitous purposes. The piece was written in response to a lot of the things that go on when we all come together. These days, multiculturalism, diversity, and blah blah. Those are like buzzwords and stuff. But the reality of it is that it brings about all kinds of different things, and we all experience it in different ways. I'm from Washington D.C. I grew up in D.C. I'm originally from El Salvador, but I've been in D.C. for 20 years. So America is America, so it brings out these kinds of things, and I just throw them out in the way that they come to me. So I apologize for the parents and to the kids, but this is perhaps language that everyone's heard already. So now I'd like to, and just to explain it to you, I mean, Chaos Standing, what you saw is the beginning, that's the beginning of the piece. And then there's happiness, and there's love, and so there are a lot of, everything about us is not negative, and it's not painful. This is the easiest part to do for me in a lot of ways, so that's why I did it. But at the same time, I think that the role of the artist is to push thought and discussion in different ways. So I like to keep on going and just read a couple of things, and perhaps I'll change the pace right now and do some character stuff. this next poem is called, it's called Aging. And when I first, and I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think you were part of my education at the Kensington School of the Arts, weren't you? Yes. I'm sorry, I know you were the librarian. Miss Foster. I went to Duke Ellington at the age of 16. My English was terrible. My acting teacher used to say, "Oh, you're a wonderful actor. I just can't say what the hell you're saying." So I remember trying to be good in school and getting a lot of flack from her for making a lot of noise. Ms. Foster, thank you very much. But as you can see, I keep on making noise. So that's a great encounter. So perhaps it's fitting to this piece about aging. It's from a piece. A lot of what I write is for performance pieces. That's one of the things that didn't happen at Duke Ellington's theater department. We did a lot of classical stuff, a lot of traditional theater, and I believe that artists have to find their own voice. And in order to do that, they gotta write and create their own stuff and not try to copy somebody else. So I started doing one-person shows, and this is from a show called Latin Hood, and I did my mom. I interviewed my mother, who worked in the laundromat of the Sheraton Hotel on Woodley Park for 20-something years, and she always said, "Oh, I stood for 21 years in front of the machine." And this is called Aging. Aging, letting time take over, not having a choice. Aging, moving forward, caressing the years differently every spring. Aging, turning 15, meeting the feeling of love by accident, falling in love, loving. Aging, becoming 18, voting against your enemies, getting a job, beginning to frown in a serious way. Aging, reaching 30, doubting your direction, asking if you've done all you could have, if you could have been better. Aging, embracing 40, becoming a candidate for the Club of Wisdom, beginning to buy hair dye more frequently. Aging, being invaded by 50, menopause, the monthly need for hair dye. Aging, getting there to 60, getting tired but still moving towards happiness, letting time take over, not having a choice, watching an old reflection of you in the faces of your children, planning for death, wishing that when it comes gently and takes you away smiling, because you'll know that you'll be able to watch from that place where the dead go and see your children from above, smiling, letting time take over, not having a choice, but always moving towards happiness. And I'd like to do some more. This is from Latin Hood. I play a waiter from Colombia who used to be a teacher in his country. That's what happens to most people that are forced to move from their original birthplace because of upheaval and war and whatever. So this is a Colombian teacher that works at a Mexican restaurant that is owned by an Iranian couple. And he's the opening act of Latin Hood. He says, "Buenas noches. I want to talk, open up the dialogue. There's 4 of us. I was chosen to go first. Let's begin. I will be your waiter tonight, your host, your water boy, your busboy, your employee for the evening. My name is Cristobal Dagoberto Maravilla, but you can call me Julio if it's easier for you. Let's begin. This shall be the area of surprises. Behind all of this, there's a little wish, a voice with a different pitch, a man, a kid dreaming, wishing to live a little bit longer. Over here, we will have the soft spot, where we talk about love, where we let the heart take over, where we welcome things for what they are. This will be the rough spot, where pain is common, where there's a distaste for logic, where we complain, scream, let it out. Here, we will place the temple, where we talk to God, upwards, to the heavens, where we believe that part of the miracle is ours. Here, in this place, we will talk to the unseen heavens, really believing, really believing. Let's begin. Here's the bread, the butter, the napkin, and my never-ending dream that someday your eyes will notice my white and black feathers and realize that I do exist. Let's begin. Welcome. Enjoy your meal, the evening, and the show. This is a follow-up. So they snap their fingers, call us names, demand explanation for their hollow lives. We insist on holding on to dignity. Our days are filled with stains, mornings full of paper flowers, broken songs, scratched moments. So they snap their fingers, call us names. We insist on holding on. Our days are filled with stains, the constant cleaning up of other people's mess, the constant need for extra sleep, the reluctance of our dreams to move forward. So they snap their fingers, place their orders, leave their ashtrays as tips, decide that they don't like our accent and leave, decide that we don't exist and pretend. So they snap their fingers. We insist on holding on, never asking for pity, mercy, or forgiveness. We are not the guilty ones. This is written for, this is from Chaos Standing. And there's like I said, it's 7 sections, and each section is a human emotion. And anger is one of them. And each section was written for a character or by a character. And the anger section was for a drunk. For any of you that have had the opportunity to experience Mount Pleasant in Columbia Road, Adams Morgan, Mount Pleasant in DC, which I think are the most culturally saturated neighborhoods in DC. Public drinking is a big problem, but no one speaks up for the drunks. No one bothers to think, where is it that these drunks come from, and what it is that goes inside their humanity. So this poem was written thinking about their humanity. Callisto. I drink to forget that I'm drunk. I'm happy. I pass out. Dream drunk dreams where I babble, slur, spit, become profound. I urinate. Pain comes out of my penis. Unlawful urine. Criminal bodily function. I cry. My eyes full of inebriated tears. They wet the ground where pain grows, thrives. I stumble straight forward, wishing to know where my legs are going. I wash my body, alcoholic water, toxic soap. I have dinner, refried trash can, disdain with tomato sauce. I ponder, if rats have feelings, how do you know when they're sad or aroused? Why does everyone need pockets and keys? I vomit, tears come out of my mouth, nightmares fall flat on the ground. I scream, my voice limps, trips, collapses. A siren gives it mouth to mouth, revives it. I sleep, close my eyes, let my nightmares laugh at me, taunt me, slap me, push me around. I live, I drink, I live, I drink, I live, I drink to forget that I'm drunk. All right, and then I'll do 2 more. that'll be for the evening. And this is called Latinhood, which is the title of that first piece that I did as a one-person set. A lot of folks think that being a Latino means looking like me. But the reality is that Latin America is perhaps one of the most messed up places when it comes to races and influences and all kinds of. I mean, it's been a crazy place the way that Latin America has developed with slavery, with the Indians, with the Spanish, with the Portuguese, with the United States. This is Latinhood. What does it feel like inside? What color is it? Is this Latinhood? How does it do what it does? What is it that it makes it happen in the way that it happens? Volatile, inquisitional, monolingual, with a yellow flower stuck in the braided hair. What language does it like to speak? Cachiquel, Spanish, Nahuatl, Creole, or English? Does it know the rules to civilized behavior, or does it tend to go at your throat when feeling threatened and cheated? What color is this Latinhood of mine? Is it black Latin, brown Latin, Indio Latin, white Latin, Latin, Italian Latin via Buenos Aires, Latin with a tinge of whiteness, mestizo Latin with Korean roots? Is it straight A's, on a roll, Hall of Fame, welfare recipient, registered to vote, legal or illegal? Is it urinating Latin, PhD Latin, regular Latin, or Latin Supreme? Is it Mexican Latin, Salvatruco Latin, Patagonia Latin, or Latin with an American passport? What does it feel like inside? What does it feel like inside? Oh my God. Could it be that you feel flowery, hot and spicy, Rio Grande, Bolivian lake, FM radio in a Caracas afternoon, Colombian capital full of parades? How do you know that you're a Latin? That you're not a Russian impostor with a Peruvian accent? What the hell is this all about? Is it about yellow rice, bean soup recipes, coca plants, Garcia Marquez, tourisms, bananas, inflation? Is it about being weird, different, borracho, poetic, Hispanic American with the sounds of fiestas patronales? What color did you get yours? Is it blue Chilean, yellow Asuncion, burgundy of St. Croix, purple San Jose? Who are you in this crazy web of Latins? Are you a Jimenez, an Escobar, a Maravilla, a Scapini, a Molina, a well of broken wishes? Who are you? Did I meet your mustache somewhere else? Are we related? Is it true what they're saying? That this whole thing is the simple ability to swallow the world at birth, keeping it, learning to chew at it, letting it grow inside. And then to close, this one's called My Tongue is Divided into Two. And this is truly how I feel sometimes about language. It's a very tricky world to enter, and a beautiful one at the same time. My tongue is divided into two. My tongue is divided into two by virtue, coincidence, or heaven. Words jumping out of my mouth, stepping on each other, enjoying being a voice for the message, expecting conclusions. My tongue is divided into two, into heavy accent bits of confusion, into miracles and accidents, saying things that hurt the heart, drowning in a language that lives, jumps, translates. My tongue is divided by nature, by our crazy desire to triumph and conquer. This tongue is cut up into equal pieces. One wants to curse and sing out loud. The other one simply wants to ask for water. My tongue is divided into two. One side likes to party. The other one takes refuge in praying. Tongue, English of the funny sounds. Tongue, funny sounds in English. Tongue sounds funny in English. Tongue in funny English sounds. My tongue sometimes acts like two and it goes crazy, not knowing which side should be speaking, which side translating. My tongue is divided into two. A border patrol runs through the middle, frisking words, asking for proper identification, checking for pronunciation. My tongue is divided into two. My tongue is divided into two. I like my tongue. It says what feels right. I like my tongue. It says what feels right.
Stretch break and then the second half. And we don't
What
have
is
to.
the second half?
Okay, the
Brahms?
second half is a song cycle by Peter Eben that Marge Bunday will sing. They're beautiful songs, sung beautifully, and then these two gorgeous Brahms songs. If you don't know them, they're really masterpieces of the literature in which the alto and the viola intertwine with the piano accompaniment. And you have translations of the Eben and of the Brahms songs, which are kind of religious folk kind of things. And then
Margaret
we're
Paris.
going to move the chairs. Okay, so everyone.
We'll explain that later. We'll explain that later. I'm going to make it really short. But I want to say something interesting. We said, if you didn't get one of those green folded up things over there, that is a kind of a rundown of what we've done since we started about a year and a half ago, and it's a fundraising letter also. If you didn't get one, just take one home and look at it. It's nicely written by somebody who's on our board. It's just a nice description of what we do. So I realized after we sent that out, and it's just interesting that until you do something like this, you don't think about nonprofits and fundraising. I mean, why would you? So I realized after we sent out 350 of those, that if everybody who had gotten one had sent in $10, we would have gotten $3,500. We would have got. I mean, that's amazing. That's a lot of money. That's like a pretty good percentage of our budget.
That would be,
Like
we could put on a third of our season.
Something. I mean, it's a good percentage of our budget. So, and I think about 15% of people have responded. Anyway, there is still time to send money if you haven't. So that's the whole fundraising pitch for the evening. And Quique has an announcement.
Yes, basically we like Música Viva, we got tired of basically going around begging other folks to be our sponsors. So we've been doing a lot of work with kids, with teenagers for over 15 years. So we got this thing called Sol y Sol. Sol means sun in Spanish. Sol means soul in English. And we got these wonderful, sophisticated, super bright teenagers that don't write like teenagers, doing their first show in March 1st at Gala Hispanic Theater. We like to get your email addresses or your phone numbers or your addresses before you leave, so we can send you an invitation and you can come check them out. And they're gonna join up with kids from Houston in the South Bronx. We have no money right now, but we decided we're gonna do this because it's worth it and the kids deserve it. So we're bringing these people together from 3 different neighborhoods that are poets, graffiti artists. They're doing a mural. They're doing workshops around the city, and then they're doing 2 shows at the end of April. And Gala is hosting all of this. So just let us have your information if you want to check it out, and we'll more than glad to send you information.
Or perhaps if they've signed the email here,
Sure.
Música Viva would be kind enough to
Yeah, we'll
share with us.
send you some
That would be great.
Thank you.
names and addresses.
Are you gonna put another sign-up sheet, because some of us have already signed up for the mailing list and don't have our names here? So maybe you can do it.
Okay.
We'll do a
Thanks. That's ready.
Whereas one nonprofit to another, maybe Marilyn and Carl
Yeah,
could
we'll
just
try to
give
get you
their
the names, at least of the people who are here.
Yeah.
Because the people who we don't know have signed the mailing list, probably.
Great.
Okay.
Thank
Right.
you.
Okay, I think, was there anything, no other announcements? Let's go.
They have
Bunday.
translations for these, correct?
They do have translations, some of which Margaret did. Not everyone does, because there's more people here than copy translation.
Here's an extra one if somebody wants. I'll take it.
These are medieval texts from 4 or 5 European languages, including English. I originally had the English on there the way it was, but Marilyn said, this doesn't make any sense. So I translated the English into English.
And winter Comme les brumes,
Most people don't know that some violinists also play the viola. And Laura is a particularly strong violist. It's an experience to hear her draw that bow. The violin and the viola are made by a friend of yours.
Yeah.
Was he here?
He was gonna be here, but I don't see him.
Well, he wouldn't have had a seat anyway.
That's true. I'll send him a program if they're in
Thank
no room for just a few people to remember this. The slide projector is gonna be right there, and there's some tape on the floor. So the way the room is gonna look is that all the chairs are gonna be facing the screen, and there'll be a little aisle in the middle, and the slide projector will be there. So if you're over there, you need to take your chair, move over here a little bit, and just, like starting here. Set up the rows like that. You just have to move a little.
Reception time after this. So what's a North Carolina photographer transplanted to the north for 30 years doing on the back roads of Mississippi and Louisiana? It started in the small towns I grew up in, not particularly picturesque or quaint, just good, honest towns, first on the edge of farmland and woods, then a few years later to Durham and Raleigh. And in spite of Jesse Helms, who really was a two-bit politician then, my family has always kept him in that category. It seemed big city. There were also woods right across the street from our house. This meant the snakes, snapping turtles, flying squirrels my brothers collected, plus some wonderful family dogs and cats. There were also very quiet opportunities to be part of interracial groups through the YWCA. Imagine my surprise when I was a senior in high school in the mid-1950s to discover that my big downtown Methodist church wasn't ready to let 6 white and 4 black girls worship together. So we went 1 block down the street to the United Church, a liberal conglomeration of Quakers, Unitarians, and others too liberal for the mainstream Protestant churches. Several years later, I heard Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speak here when the Montgomery bus boycott was underway. I became a painter and a printmaker, then gradually switched to photography because I wanted to get in touch with the real world in a way my painting style didn't allow. My internal stage had been set. Woods equaled a small piece of unblemished nature. The civil rights movement was a testament to the worth and dignity of all people. All around me were towns and cities that I judged good or bad, depending on how they handled racial issues and how they treated the land. But like a lot of young people, I left for greener pastures. I was so sure that things were better in the north. At least they had first-rate art museums. While teaching art on Long Island, I was in several marches for open housing and was surprised to see and hear the same venom from shopkeepers on our route that I had heard and seen in North Carolina. Years passed, photography became my primary art form. Gradually, I was drawn to social issues as well as aesthetic ones. Texts began to appear in my work. I heard about the increasing environmental racism or economic injustice that exists in the Delta country of the Mississippi. Factories related to the petroleum or fertilizer industries were placed close to the undervalued property of African American communities. The emissions were so bad, so toxic, the soil became seriously polluted, and entire communities were displaced, moved up or downstream just enough to be out of immediate danger. I decided I had to go and see this for myself. I took 2 long solitary road trips through Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana. I quickly discovered the South, as most areas, is too complex to be defined by a single issue. An investigation of pollution led to questions about the economy, where first petroleum and recently casinos have become the new cotton along many parts of the river. Considering the economy brought in the role of both the civil rights movement and the Civil War. Personal issues, including a sometimes elusive search for beauty, overlapped and intermingled with social and historical ones. In spite of the often pressing vistas of deprivation and inequalities, I produced River Journal as a poetic document of images and text. Selections from this series, minus the text, have been reproduced in the summer 1999 issue of Calliope, a journal of women's literature and art. I shot 3 kinds of film on the trips: black and white print, black and white, and color slides. I did almost 100 work prints from the black and white negatives, but wasn't satisfied that the prints captured all the visual, social, and spiritual nuances I had witnessed. The project finally took off when I began making Polaroid transfers from some of the black and white Scala slides and the color slides. As soon as I began making these, I knew that a text was important, a distillation of my taped and written thoughts and observations made during the trips. I tried using a Canon laser printer to have these transfers enlarged with the text, but the format seemed a little old-fashioned, even homemade. A year ago, I began working with Adobe Photoshop, a computer program, to scan, then digitally manipulate the images and combine them with text. And now, River Journal. On my first morning in Alabama, I turn out of the motel parking lot. I see this sign. I bow my head and wonder if I am to ask for forgiveness for my poor dirt farmer, small shopkeeper, train station master, cabinet maker relatives who did very little but survive and support wives and children in modest, self-made ways. They were Quakers and Methodists. One even returned to the North to fight for the Union Army. None had slaves. Their lives were not hard, but neither were they grand. But I am white, and many who were not, and who are not, slide under the feet of my dominant status. I ask forgiveness for us all. I reach out across the miles and years that separate us, and I begin this journey. The Southern Poverty Law Center in Montgomery, Alabama was founded in 1971 to ensure that the rights of the poor and people of color were protected and advanced. In 1989, Maya Lin designed a beautiful memorial to recognize the achievements of the civil rights movement and to honor those who gave their lives during the struggle from 1954 to 1968. A fountain is part of the memorial. A thin sheet of water moves over the spherical surface, which has engraved the names of the heroes of this movement. Behind the fountain is the water wall with a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. based on a verse from the Old Testament. Until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Guards with guns and cameras protect this memorial around the clock. It regularly receives bomb threats. I sit in the park that has been built on the Selma side of the Pettus Bridge, site of 3 civil rights marches. Kudzu vines twine around the lower girders of the bridge. Their graceful turns and curves almost obscure the brutal events that happened here. 3 attempts were made to cross the bridge and march the 50-some miles to Montgomery to demand the right to register and vote. Such a simple right of full citizenship, gained only after horrific beatings and injuries of the first 2 marches. The consciousness of many was raised, and thousands came from the entire country to march along Route 14 in the final successful long walk to Montgomery. Across the street from the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, is a park, which was once a gathering place for demonstrators from several churches who helped to break the wall of segregation that had constricted the city. Today, the park is a memorial. Sculptures have been created to represent all aspects of the struggle, the terror of the police dogs, as well as the new day that victory promised. Across the street from the park and the church is the Civil Rights Institute. The exhibits here cover the entire civil rights movement, with particular attention to the role of the city of Birmingham. These figures were cast from actual citizens of the city as they discover common interests and reach across the great distance that once separated them. 5:30 one morning, I saw the Mississippi River downstream. This is the bridge that leads from Vicksburg into Louisiana, one of 2 or 3 lovely, unpolluted spots on the river. That is, until out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the casino down below on the riverbanks. The number of casinos has doubled from my first visit to Vicksburg. There are 4, and probably more since I wrote this. I came across this declaration on a concrete walkway that led to one of the floating casinos in downtown Vicksburg. It was painted, almost etched into the concrete. As I looked down, I tried to decide if it was a cautionary message or a prayer for those who might throw lives away for the thrill of momentary wins, and more often losses so profound they could lead to bankruptcy and major problems in relationships with spouses, children, and employers. This morning, in December 1997, the river is cold. The water has come from Minnesota. The air above is warm, rising to the 70s at noon. The resulting fog wafts above the river and beyond from 3:30 p.m. to 10:30 a.m. The fog became a metaphor for the second trip. Like a lone pilgrim on a journey of discovery, each day I made my way, hoping the fog would part long enough to reveal new visions, awarenesses, and insights. At the national park that memorializes the famous and bloody Civil War battle in Vicksburg, I am surprised that driving through it was such an agreeable experience. Under the large trees that line the hilly terrain, it's cool in the summer heat. In the upper limbs, high above, a few birds sing. Many of the memorials are beautiful. Granite stones reach upward to a sky of slowly drifting clouds. As I look at the monuments and then down at the graves, I remind myself these were lives. This was heroism. This was losing, and this was winning. This was war, distilled to the final tragedy of the grave of an unknown soldier. The White House shimmers like a mirage in the heat of August. In Natchez, Mississippi, the past hovers, a specter on the edge of the present. The large houses still rise above the river. The trees which shade yards and porches weave dapples of light and dark. The cool shadows hide the reality of one master and many slaves. On the porch, I close my eyes. I hear the slippers of subdued African women as they bring forward cool glasses. The roles assigned to women and children often define core values of a society or a culture. This sculpture represents the virginal but slightly seductive woman so prized in the South. When I am in Natchez, I find a postcard of a small restaurant on Route 61. Mammy's Cupboard, as it is called. It was built in 1940. This photograph is from the postcard. On my way to Baton Rouge, I stopped to photograph it. Mammy's Cupboard has now been made what the local people must think of as politically correct. She has painted a pinkish tan color. Her bright red scarf and skirt are a modish, warm beige. 20 miles outside of Baton Rouge, the storage tanks start. Some form of the petroleum industry continues deep into the Delta, all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Route 61 between Baton Rouge and New Orleans is called Petroleum Highway or Cancer Alley, depending on which side of the corporate structure you're on. Factories line the river, with entrances back from the highway. The factory's products are mostly petroleum-based. At night, they become beautiful, futuristic places lit by hundreds of bulbs, as if poised to receive messages from outer space. Beyond the surreal beauty is their ugly past. Before environmental regulation, all waste was discharged either in the air or the river. The factories are wastelands of metal, wires, steam, soot, and whatever else the owners choose to release into the air. They sit well back from the road, surrounded by fences and gates and signs that announce they are proudly producing and moving the country forward. While they dominate the landscape, the narrow band of land in front of them is sometimes put to other uses. Between the road and the factories are small farming areas with the occasional tree. Black farmers plow with their tractors as the smokestacks release plumes of waste. I never saw the worst of the communities near the river. A violent rainstorm prevented my going to the one I had located. I have crossed the Mississippi River at Baton Rouge and driven on the west side for several hours. I had planned to crisscross the river several times and see it from different bridges. A raging storm separates me from the community and the bridge that I wanted to see and use. I wait 30 minutes in a black gas station, eat a donut, drink a cup of coffee. While I'm there, everyone is quiet, and no one will predict how long the rain will last. I leave and take a circuitous route in the Delta to reach home at my evening's destination. Soon I am out of the rain. The sign in the photograph comes into view, the only evidence of history on a long stretch of open land. White refers to a plantation that can be reached down a muddy road, an ironic signifier of the dominant players in this area's evolving narrative. I long for untrampled beauty and yearn to find even a few places where this still existed on the river. West of Oxford, Mississippi, miles of rich flat land lead to the river. Near Rosedale, I found this undisturbed river I had hoped to see. A curving inlet, silver gray, silent, almost a mirror. As the evening fog began to rise, a white dot, barely visible in the lower part of its transfer, walked by. It was a scene of intense beauty, of rare purity. The interwoven web of nature was in balance and complete for that evening's moment. There wasn't a casino or factory in sight. I took a swamp tour of Bayou Singat. The Cajun guide, Gary, with one artificial leg, piloted the boat around the bayou, full of stories and commentary. He pointed out the house of an old lady who had lived in the bayou by herself, cut off except by boat. Recently, due to health problems, she had to leave. Someone on the boat asked if anyone would move into her house. I doubt it, Gary said. It's hard out there by yourself. No one wants to risk it. He paused and slowly added, in the early days, no one thought of risks. There was only trapping and hunting, living and loving, our way of life. The next day, on the way to the airport, I was on a raised 6-lane highway. I could see New Orleans in the distance. The aging factories that line the river appeared small as leftover Legos. Closer, the tall modern office buildings in the new downtown promised a future of a different sort. Beside the airport interchange, there are no high-rise buildings visible, no factories. But there are the canals which ebb and flow from the river, black as dark coffee and rimmed by dense Spanish moss, creating at a glance a South that is 1,000 years old, that is still defined in large and small places by the overwhelming beauty in nature, tolerant of our ways and enduring in spite of them.